Go. Okay. Here we go, Rabbi say. Rabbi Shlomo Haim gave share, and then he said, there's only 3 people showed up on a snow day, and he said, I'm not teaching you, I'm teaching your kids and your grandkids. So we could say that. This is Shovavim. We discussed Shovavim. Rabbi Korn mentioned it last week, the concept in the Indian. A lot of us grew up in America, we don't even know what Shovavim is. It sounds almost like a color war team or something like that. But Lamaisa, you see, the Arizal dates back even before that, of what it is in Eretz Yisrael. You see this, they're mamish busy with it, day and night. And it's just separate, they have shiurim and they have svarim for it, and sidurim, special tefillos that they say. So it isn't any to go over in Yanei Kedusha, to discuss, to be mechazik ourselves in those in Yanim, as Rabbi Korn mentioned in regards towards Taharas Hamishpacha as well. It's also ripe time because, interestingly enough, many years I had discussed to learn with many chassanim, and the only time you can give chassan classes is when a guy is a chassan, pashtus. The problem is that the worst time to give chassan classes is when the guy is a chassan. Yeah. So it's the duality of that is that and then if Mir Tashem it's B'Shat Taiva right away, then everything goes out the window. The brain is totally farmushed, completely fried. And then now what? Now I cannot tell you how many times people have asked questions. And I know this guy almost like sheepishly. I know we kind of probably learned this, but I just completely forgot.
We rely on the women.
Right, exactly. I know. That's the problem with relying on the women is like they always say is that they always say when it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, I'll don't worry, they're learning in the seminary, and then they get married, and in seminary they said they told us we'll rely on you. Now we're looking at each other, and it's like it's Shabbos morning. Now what? So how do we make this tea? Yay or nay? So to keep things in somewhat of an algorithmic understanding is when it comes to making a woman, what makes a woman usher? That's really the first question. What makes a woman usher? So there's really just to keep things again in kind of an enlisted form. There's 2 things. There's 2 inyanim. Number 1 is that the dam must come from the makar. It must come from the source, which is the rechem, the makar, the uterus. It must be what's known as uterine bleeding. If it's not from the makar, it's not from the rechem, it is not dam nida. Very relevant when a woman goes for a checkup. Again, this is relevant after one's married. They have annual checkups at gynecologists. They do what's called a pap smear. Pap smear is a cervical culture, which is a little bit, tiny few cells taken from the cervix, and it almost always causes bleeding. Come on, always. It is not dam nida at all, because it is coming from the cervix. And therefore, it has nothing to do with the makar. A lot of times there will be an abrasion. There will be an abrasion in that area that will cause bleeding. That is not at all dam nida. Dam nida is coming strictly from the uterus, uterine bleeding. The big issue is, how in the world am I supposed to know? In general, we don't, and we assume all dam that a woman sees is dam nida. That's the assumption, that's the default, is that we see dam, we assume it came all the way from up top and traveled its way past the cervix, past Isamakum, and outside of the woman's body. That's the assumption. Second assumption, again, there's 2 conditions. Condition number 2 is, it says the pasuk, bifsara, she has to feel it from her. What does that mean? So Shmuel in the Gemara says, what does it mean? At shetirgash bifsara, until she feels it come from her. Okay, meaning what? She has to have what's known as a hargasha. Now this is interesting because if you go to any smicha program, this is the first thing that all the Kailam learn. What's this hargasha? And there's a huge machlokes. This is the Rambam. There's no Yehuda, some sefer. And there's different discussions about what makes this kind of feeling. What is this? What creates this feeling? Some say it's the body almost shakes to an extent. Some say it's that you feel the cervix opening up. Some say it's a zivas davar, you feel some kind of flow, a liquid flow, which does not mean externally. To be clear, it's not referring to that. That's not what a hargasha is. I want to be very clear. The reason I'm saying this so clearly is because women nowadays are not in tune to their bodies. They're just not. You guys are eating this sesame chicken. You have no idea what's involved in putting that together. The amount of preservatives in a Diet Coke, you can't imagine. So imagine you're putting that stuff into your system day after day after day. You're traveling. They used to, hundreds of years ago, they lived, within 4 blocks. They ate 9 items on the menu, and that was it. Erev Shabbos, you got the chicken, you shucked it, and every other day it was the potatoes and carrots. So lemaisa, that affects the way that we're in tune to our bodies. You don't feel your small intestine digesting. Don't think about it when eating the kugel. But even if you would think about it, you wouldn't feel it anyway. Okay, it wouldn't. You're not in tune to it. So now we're a little bit we're against the wall. Not that we're against the wall, but we have no way to make a woman usher, because now in theory I don't have this feeling. So if I don't have this feeling, I need both in order to become what's biblically prohibited, to be an Isser D'Oraisa. I need to have both.
Even the most simplest Misharm lady doesn't have a
No. Even though she drinks Diet Coke too. Yeah. It's that, and it does. Yeah. In general, the Messiah is that the contemporary placement has. If a woman calls up, and this happens a lot, and a woman says, "I had a hargasha," we just don't believe her. We just don't believe her. Not because she hears the concept of hargasha, she feels things, and I want to be very clear. There's something called PMS, which is premenstrual syndrome, which is cramping, a woman feel bloated. That is not a hargasha. That means something is imminent. That means that I know my body. Some women get headaches before. Some women feel nausea before. Some women feel bloated before, as we mentioned. So that is not what we're talking about. That's some other kind of symptom that's telling you that the period is on its way. But that is not necessarily what's going to make you need it. The hargasha we're talking about is too subtle, just too subtle. Do you feel it? It's a woman feeling the cervix opening up. She doesn't. It's something that's very, very subtle. So we have nowadays, the only things we have is it's something that kind of covers up this hargasha. It's kind of something that we say, look, lady, it's like right now, right, you're eating this on the straw. So if I slap your hand right now, so you won't feel that subtle something because something else overwhelmed it, overpowered it. So we're going to say if something happens in that area, okay, in the vaginal area that overpowers it, so to speak, and then she sees down, we say, look, you had hargasha, you just didn't chop. Now the question is why? We're not looking to make people answer. So there's a lumdus behind that we're saying basically, I'll suffix the Raisa. The kids
seeing blood without hargasha is really bad.
There's nothing. It's garnished. It's garnished. It's garnished. Yeah, these two conditions. That's when you need these two conditions for neither the Raisa. Now you're onto something. You're onto something with neither for on a rabbinic level, but on a biblical level, minatera, garnished. You need correct. You have to have it. So we don't really have anything nowadays that you have this aside for really four exceptions. Not four exceptions. I say it's four scenarios. Scenario number one is a woman sees immediately after Tashmish Hamida. So there was something going on over there. You see immediately after, we say you're usher. Okay, not so relevant for that to happen. Because we pass in the Shulchan Aruch says ICM, it has to be immediately. So it's not relevant. And nowhere is there chiyuv to check, so no one's ever checked. So that's not relevant. Okay. Number two is Taharas meraglayim. A woman sees immediately after urinating. Now what's interesting is women, when they go to the bathroom, right, they sit, we stand. I don't know why it's like this. People have a minhag. They not a minhag. It's more like it's a behavior, like it's a habit. I look at toilet paper. Now every one of the the Kitzur Svarim will say, you'll see it in Hebrew, you'll see it in English. Every college teacher is going to tell the college the same thing. Do not look at toilet paper. Don't look at toilet paper. So don't look. Right? Don't look. Why? It's almost because what people have a habit. People blow the nose. It's a habit, right? It's a habit. Everyone is hearing the same thing. Don't look. Lamaisa, I'm telling you, I could show you my phone 7-8 times a day. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I know I wasn't supposed to look. I didn't mean to look. Out of the corner of my eye, I think I saw. It's always the same thing. And exactly what Shmuel is saying is that it has to be again. Also, ICM. It has to be immediately. We go in America like Ramesha. Okay, and Eretz Yisrael a little more machmer. We go that it has to be mamish right away. It has to be. You only heard this already. It's mamish the same. Yeah. I did the same thing as John. It has to be. It's all the same. It's sheer one. It's no matter what it is. Anyway, yeah, okay. So Lamaisa, it's Eis Yom Paskin has to be exactly what it has to be exactly immediately, right away, mamish right away. And this is it's amazing that we go with Moshe over here because that means Kaman. And Moshe is very clear in his tshuva. A baby is crying. The phone is ringing, as if people actually have to go out to get a phone. In those days, you see where they're holding. But nonetheless, that's going to be considered rushing out. If you're not rushing out, in general, it's fine. Like you said, sometimes they're told, wait a second. I've told many people because they get so worked up from it because it's a habit. And now, when I know I'm not supposed to, but I do. And I know I'm not supposed to, but I do. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do. And now I see time every single time. And it's right after Taharas meraglayim. Right? That's when you see it. So I tell people just always go to the bathroom with the lights off. It's a good idea. Go to the bathroom with the lights off. That's it. So there's no chiv, right? No, there's a Kadosh Baruch who never told Moshe Rabbeinu check your toilet paper. Never said it, right? So we don't have to get nervous. People get nervous on beating the system. There are some times when we're obligated you to check. There are some times when we obligate you to do bedika. There are some times when you have to know if there is a re'iyah's down. You have to understand the chalois of the isser comes by the re'iyah, right? That's when the chalois comes. So I don't know, but I know maybe it's happening. And there's no isser. There's no chalois isser if there's no re'iyah. So if I don't see, so don't check. Now, okay, sometimes we obligate you to check. But over here, no one said when you go to the facilities you have to check. So a woman should not feel guilty by not checking. Should not, and as much as willpower as it takes not to, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. It just causes shilas, and again, because of Moshe's psak in general, it will usually never make you usher in general, because it's usually not going to be immediately after. Okay, situation number 3 is when a woman sees on a bedika cloth. Again, what's the idea over here? The same thing is happening is that there's a hargasha she doesn't have anymore. It's the same concept. Is that there's a hargasha now and it's not here anymore? Well, I'm sorry, you don't feel hargasha because she's in the middle of doing this bedika. She's circulating the cloth. So therefore, as far as we're concerned, we say that the hargasha was there and she is a nida d'oraisa. If she sees anything on a cloth. Now the big question is like this: so when she gets the monthly cycle, why is she aser? Why is she aser? Doesn't say the Torah when you get. Now we all know that's what 99.999% of the time it's going to aser. But why? The question is why. So our question has an approach is that the pshat is the question is it a siba, is it a siman? when there is such a heavy flow and there's so much dam, in a way the dam itself covers it up. In other words, basically this is telling you it's here. The Hargash is here. The dam itself is telling you that. When there's so much of it, we say it's basically just like kind of like letting you know. It's like letting you know. It's like giving you that heads up that it's there. That you know. Even like didn't notice, like the example, a friend has a sefer. He has a sefer that someone's sleeping and you see the video and he gets, you see the video. He gets someone touches him while he's sleeping, right? He didn't feel it, right? And he wakes up and he shows the video. Oh, Taka, Taka, right? You tapped me in the middle while I was sleeping. So it's basically what's happening over here. In other words, that it's not just because you didn't feel it. It came, you didn't realize it. And Lamaisa, that's the basic svara. It's going to make a woman us. Now the question is, and this is very relevant for sometimes women are on various medication or pills or various other situations in which case the monthly cycle is, so to speak, toned down. So if it's toned down, it's lighter. Now once it's lighter, this is relevant a lot of times on a pill, on a nursing pill. A lot of times things will happen on an intrauterine device that's put in that will happen. A lot of times on a NuvaRing that will happen. A lot of times on a patch that will happen. Is that the cycle, the period is somewhat diminished. So now the question is, what's the Re'iyah? That's the $1 million question. What's the cutoff point? Because now you're telling me that it's this monthly cycle. What it comes once a month, maybe so, but it's a lot. It's not so much. So the question is, what's the cutoff point? In halakha, everything is a cutoff point. Everything is a certain amount, right? Everything has to be a certain amount. You carry a certain, you eat a certain amount in Yom Kippur. You're over on Eid. You carry a certain amount and without an Erev. You're over on Eid on Shabbos, right? Whether you eat a certain amount in Bracha Kroner. So what's the cutoff point? How much? How much? In other words, now that a lot of times in a very contemporary child, again, for at this stage in our lives, right? If many people are, and I'm not condoning, I just realized on a video, I don't know who's listening, who's not. We're not condoning, going on these or not going on these. But if a person finds themselves on it with, in discussion with a rabbi and discusses themselves on it, and there's a psak that they are able, they should go on some kind of contraceptive. A lot of times what this does is this minimizes the output of the amount of dam. So now the question is how much. So what's going to make it permitted? What's going to make it prohibited? What's going to make it, what's the suffix? So in general, my Messiah from my Rabbi is around, and this is what Moshe says in his sefer, the writer has a sefer in Halachos Nida, is a half $1 bill. A dollar bill folded in half, it's around in Eretz Yisrael, the place can say 4 fingers, which is really all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Rabbi Yosha was a little more machmer. He held 6 grisim. We pass in a gris is around a penny, around 6 pennies worth, which is considerably less, which is probably closer to around 2 or 3 fingers worth. But around this amount of saturated, heavy dam is going to be considered a Re'iyah's dam. It's going to be considered a Re'iyah's dam. The question I always ask is, did it saturate the pad? Did it soak through? Ever since Corona, people are too, busy to drop off shilas, so now it's just send pictures. But Lamaisa, it's not good because a lot of times you want to open the pad to see, but sometimes if it's so pashut that it's nothing, or it's so pashut that it's bad, sometimes you can make the call on a picture. I'll say, put a half $1 bill next to it. And be able to get it. I don't encourage this. Always it's good to, have a rabbi you speak to, and in this way. In general, it's good to you have a relationship. That's what your day is all about, is you have a relationship with her. He knows what's going on in your kitchen, he knows what's going on with these shabbos, he knows what's going on. It encourages the relationship. But Lamaisa, if you're not able to, whatever it is, sometimes people ask that picture, that's going to be your gauge. It's a half $1 bill. That's your gauge. So if you have that amount, that's going to be considered a Re'iyah's dam. Okay. Neither the rice. Correct. Neither the rice. Correct. So that's a cutoff point. So a lot of times you'll see this. No, but it is, again, that's what I'm saying. This is your 4th situation where you have the hargasha. That's what I'm saying. These are 4.
You had it?
You're right. Exactly. Oh, it was covered up. So these are what you're saying. Good, because nowadays that's what we're left with. We're left with only 4 scenarios now that makes you need the deraisa. Right after tashmish, right after talsum merglayim, on a bedika cloth, and when it's heavy, and when it's heavy, and when it's a large amount. And a large amount, it's not totally on, people get stuck, they think it's totally on that cycle. You can hear this question all the time, but she's not expecting her period, but it doesn't matter. Because again, it's so much down, women that she can be in her 7th month, pregnant, right? It doesn't make a difference, right? It doesn't make a difference. It's not a din in that, it's a din in when there's just so much, and we know it's from the makar, then we assume. Now, good side rabbi's trick to know is a lot of times when, let's say it's not from the makar, and you'll see this a lot of times in the middle of the 7 clean days. You'll see this sometimes randomly. A woman saying, and she suspects this sunbeam might be an abrasion, might be something, might be a boo-boo, something, who knows what. Something possibly could have. Some women just have this prolapse, there's a cervical erosion. There's a whole bunch of situations which might cause a woman to bleed, but it's actually not coming from the makar. It's either cervical or vaginal cut. There's a woman that's they have a few of them in Monsey, just to know the concept exists. Some people, you could be married for 25 years, never know this woman exists. Some women, they go all the time. A bedekes is a woman that is trained to be able to just do an internal exam and call the rabbi back and say, hey, And in Monsey they actually have a few. They have a hotline even you could call. There's a whole bunch of them they have. Hey, something seems odd. Why is she seeing on day 6 of the Shiva Nekiyim? Why is she seeing when she's totally not expecting it? Something. Just by the way, it's not. I can tell you as a fact, it's not from the uterus. She does an internal exam. She calls the rabbi. She doesn't give a psak, but she calls by Eretz Yisrael. It's a sheet. She'll just fill out the sheet. She gives it back to the rabbi. Maka this Metzia Dam, and that's it. Check, done, finished. Just when you know this person exists, just it's good to know because you don't want to make assumptions.
Doctor could also
It depends. It depends from doctor. And it's interesting. Ironically enough, I find that a Beidekis is more trained to know because they're trained to look for a makkah. A doctor is a doctor. Like whatever. Sometimes he'll know, he'll say this, but she's trained to know what to look for. So in theory, yeah. And it happens to be a lot of them double over as nurses. They happen to be that's just what their job is. But in general, there are women that are just trained to be Beidekis, and so that's why it's good. But from a Jewish doctor can be Neman as well. So that's as far as what's making her. Need the eraser. Now, in regards to the shear, the amount, interestingly enough, as much as we keep on talking about half an bill and 6 grisim and all that, when it comes to the other 3 scenarios, it's tipa kachardal, which is a mustard seed, which is nothing. Neither the eraser, there's no wiggle room. Okay, and this is the biggest misconception that, okay, it's not, again, we're older, clever here, but I can't tell you how many times I have couples that were married for 5, 6, 7, 8 years that are sending a picture of a badika cloth with a penny next to it. Right? Yeah? Because what? Because penny. We know penny. Whoa, right? Penny does not matter a situation where it's the eraser. The amount is tipa kachardal. So for cases 1, 2, and 3, we have 4 now. For cases 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3 is tipa kachardal is a mustard seed.
The shell on the cloth is if it's sealed down.
Yeah, good, wonderful. But don't tell me size. Size is non-negotiable. So that's what I'm saying is that not to be confused when dealing with neither the eraser, again the 4 scenarios of neither the eraser, that is going to be only is only going to be is tipa kachardal 1, 2, and 3. Example after Tashmish. After a talis meraglayim on a badika cloth is going to be tipa kachardal, which is literally most of them have a loop. Not that we're looking for problems, and this is important to know. As that we don't. Whenever all the bug shilas always they come about, and we're not looking for problems, right? It's when I start noticing the whole problem with the water with the copepods in Brooklyn is that what I notice it. Now I notice it. A trained eye can notice it. Now we're in trouble. So we have the Belsky was Makel for different various other reasons, but Lamaisa it was a living breathing organism, right? So, but if I can't see it, right, I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but you're breathing in organisms right now, right? I'm saying bacteria is live, but you can't see it. So you can't see it. So they said, when Torah wasn't given to Malachim, period. So the same thing is over here. Is we're not looking for problems, but if you see something, you don't know something. So that's why the Rabbi is going to take out the loop. Don't think when you see that we have to look. So he sees something, he just has to check what the color is. It brings us to the next point. Okay, as far as what's going to ask you to begin with, says the Mishnah Chamishi Minei Damim. There's 5 colors of dam. What does that mean? 5 colors of dam. It says these are 5 dam, and if it's not this color, it's not a dam nida. Okay, and that's important to know, which means, to be clear, you go to the laboratory and you bring a badika, you bring the cloth, and they check it, and they check the DNA, and they say, Mrs. So-and-so, this matches your DNA, right? You can go back, you don't have to go to your rabbi, we're telling you this is your blood, right? But we tell the lab, too bad, we're not asking you, right? That's why you're asking the rabbi. Because it's not a question of whether it's blood, the question is whether it's dam nida. And this is important to know, it's a pasuk in the Torah, in Shoftim. You go to the Chacham, it looks big, dam tamei dam tar. What does that mean? It's pasuk. That means there is such a thing called dam tamei and dam tar. So right, that means dam, called dam, that means it must be dam. Thank you, Mr. Lab, right? But at the end of the day, it's dam tar. Because it's not what? We pass like the rush, we don't know what the Messiah is, what these 5 colors are. It's a certain flour, a certain wine, we lost the Messiah. Anything that's noitel mimus. Noitel mimus is going to be considered David. So noitel mimus, these are great examples of here. These are mamish like these, the shtenders here and all this. These are like, it's not like red, but it's kind of reddish. A lot of the sperm you'll see, they have like this brownish kind of somewhat inclined towards the red family. That's going to be dam nida. It's inclined to red. Now you could play just this morning. They had a shaila and they threw it out by mistake and they don't know when they take a picture. And of course the picture they took is like from the picture's all the way on the other end of the room. Like how do you expect me to say but whatever it is. And I told him simply because play the matching game. I was married for a few years. Did you ever have this color before? Yes. Do you ever show it to a rabbi? Yes. Was the rabbi okay with it? Yes. You're fine. It's fine. It's okay. A lot of times people get nervous. When we get nervous, especially, it's like, oh my gosh, they think every shaila is bad. Not every shaila is bad. Don't assume shaila is bad. If it's lamaisa, since we're dealing with the eraisis, as we said, if you lose it, we have a problem. If it's a real shaila, but if it's not, this is what I always do. I always ask, but it's always fine. I said it's fine. You can play the matching.
Is this that they're not real strong red? Is that because we assume that's not from the makar, or?
No, it is. It is. It's not damnida. It's not damnida. Yeah, came from the makar. Yeah, came from the makar. That's what I'm saying. It's not that. It's not. This is not. Chamishi Minei Damim is. This is what dam tamei is. The Mishnah is telling you this is dam tamei.
So it could be happening on the cycle and then
whatever. Who knows what it is? Who knows? Who knows? But the point is, In other words, an individual situation, just understand on a more macro level, is that, in other words, this is, inclined towards red is a problem, not is not a problem. That's what I'm saying. So if you have it's b'chalal not in the red family, then we don't have to talk about it. People send shilas, especially newlyweds, send shilas, there's a lot of yellow, gold, tan, brown, coffee, chocolate. These are all normal colors, right? It's mixed vaginal mucus, who knows what it is, but it's not tamida. So it's there, who knows where it comes, it's not tamida. So, and again, that's when you go to the lab, and the lab says, yeah, this matches your thing. I say, too bad, no problem. So that's what it, but if, which is more relevant of a situation where women see the same colors usually every time. And I'm usually at this stage, this is my color, this is my color, usually. So then we look at this Shiloh that sometimes you've been married for 20 years, you have a Shiloh. But in general, you start, hey, I know that this was fine, so it's fine. So you can play the matching game. You're able to do that. Again, I always encourage people to ask, because why not? The rabbi doesn't charge. I mean, if he does, find the new rabbi. You know what I'm saying? So and that's his job. So ask the Shilohs, ask the Shilohs. Like, it doesn't hurt to ask. Never, but Lamaisa got lost, something like that. In this case, like Mamash this morning, in that case, is what to be mikol. So that's as far as when we're dealing with exactly what the dam is. Okay, so now it sounds like we're having the clear. So we have 4 scenarios, and that's it. Right, 4 scenarios, and that's the only situations we have to deal with now. Practically speaking, again, we mentioned that Atalas Mergolayim is not relevant because it's not right away. A Batika Klal is a Batika Klal, and when she, in her cycle, when she sees, when she has that, the Machzor, as the term is, yeah. So that's it. So great, wonderful. So, what? Yeah, but that's not relevant either. It's also immediately after. It's not also not a relevant shiloh. So in general, that's not going to put a couple out. So great. So that's v'zehu. Now comes Chazal. Chazal were nervous. Because why? Because hey, what's going to happen over here? I say that what's going to happen. So great. She sees Daman with Dargasha, right? What happens if she sees Daman without Dargasha? You're totally fine. That's what you were saying earlier, right? Without Dargasha, you're totally cool. Problem is, she's going to get confused. What's she going to get confused? She's going to think, is that every time, yeah, that I see Dam, so then it's okay. So then when I see Dam, even with Dargash, it's also okay. Yeah, you're fine, you're good. Whoa. What if you actually, it is a monthly cycle. What about if they did do a Badika? You're going to say it's fine, because the rabbi was fine with it, last week. Yeah, because there was no Hargash involved. So this is going to lead to confusion. So therefore, at the end of the day, as we paskin, anytime you see Dam, even without Hargasha, you're out. And the term for this is very appropriate, kesem. Kesem, it just means stain. Kesem. Anybody else know where else you see the word kesem? Okay, not including you, because you just know everything. But you're not counted. You'll see it in Hilchos Kala Mayid. Hilchos Kala Mayid, you'll see it when the person gets sustained, and then you see the term kesem. Kesem just means, I want you to know the word, because kesem is very definitive for what we're talking about. It's a stain. It's so random. I mean, she sees on anything that could have come from that area. On a garment, on pajamas, on tights, on a nightgown, on a towel, on a slipper, on herself. Anything like that, you're out. You're out. So that's very extensive. It's very extensive. But we have to understand is, again, a lot of times women feel like they're beating the system. Chazal made the Isser, they make the Heter. It's like that with everything. With every Isser that Chazal, we would deal with tons and tons of them. With Kashrus we deal with, on Shabbos we deal with, tons and tons of Isser D'Rabbanan. It's their Isser, it's their rules, right? You don't have to feel guilty about it. You can cook your chicken and cheese sandwich if you want, no problem. Do work in Wendy's all you want, no problem. Chazal said, don't eat it. Don't eat it. Right? Don't you dare work in McDonald's. Don't cook meat and milk. Don't do that. That's an issa d'oraisa, right? We're coming Chazal and we're telling you just D'Rabbanan. That's what we're telling you. Tell D'Rabbanan. This is what we're concerned about. We don't want you to come to eat this. Because you don't eat that. Cook it, knock yourself. Want to sell it? Sell it. Go yourself. No. Don't you dare sell milk right Basel Challah. Chicken and cheese, no problem. No problem, right? Because I'm only answering just eating. Don't have the chicken and don't eat the chicken and cheese sandwich. Cook it, sell it, no problem. Right? Let's I says it 3 times, and it's very clear. There's 3 separate isurim in the Torah. Can't be nena. I can't eat. I can't cook. So that's what Chazal did. Now, okay. So Chazal is telling us, is saying, when we make this, they were the ultimate psychologists. They knew. So they knew what to be considered. We'll say, here's the deal. If it's the size of a bug or smaller, it's totally fine. Why? Because everyday living was that people lived in tents. So I wake up, I kill the bug. Happened every single day. We all went to camp. It happened every other day. He killed a daddy long leg. He killed this, salamander got squashed. So there's every single time. But woman wakes up, there's down all over the place. We're not making, again, Chazal, it's good to know, they're never looking to make your life miserable, ever. Fakir. It's looking to enhance your life. So they didn't sit around the table and be like, let's see how we can make lives just more complicated. That's not what they did. They wanted to protect you. They wanted to make a siyug. They wanted to make a fence. That's what they wanted to do. So now, so what? So it's the size of a gris, which we paskin is a penny, or smaller, it's fine. Penny, some say 5 shekels, some say a shekel, some say a simon coin with the, remember those old phone coins in Eretz Yisrael with the hole in the middle? That's around the same. Yesh, 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 yesh. I'll tell you a secret. It's all the same size. It's really all the same thing. We're talking about a mashur. It's a penny is a penny is a penny, and that's what Moshe Feinstein said in America. That's what we go. We go with the penny. And I want to be clear. It's a penny's worth of admimis. So just because you see a stain that's huge, I see this all the time. People send a picture of a shayla. I'm telling you, it's not good. I say, let me see it. I'm telling you, show the shayla. Show the shayla. Because why? Because the rabbi knows how to take out the admimis, right, and ignore everything else. So the stain could be this big, but you don't have a grist worth, a penny's worth of admimis, you're fine. And they're not connected, by the way. So you could have 10 different ones, less than a penny, less than a penny, as long as they're not touching, you're fine. So that's going to be heter number 1. Heter number 2 is it has to be.
Sorry, even if there's no sound anymore about above.
Even if there's what? So now you're asking a very good question. Now the $1 million question, what's in Yudah. Yudah has a very good question. I totally rolled over that. I was like, hello, who are we trying to fool, right? Like now it's 2025, right? We don't live in tents anymore. Yeah, where does that come from? So that's a very good question. The general gauge is, sorry for this different mahalchim here, but the general gauge is that it doesn't mean literally, this is a bug. It means is when we sat together, we, so to speak, when they came together with this siyug, then they came together with this geder, they said, this is going to be the hekatimtza. For whatever reason, we're making this gzeira, it's the size of a bug, right? In other words, but it's not a din in...
It's not the siva.
Right, exactly. You're using this gauge. Yeah. But another good answer really is, that's given is, because it's a very good question nowadays, is that what's the whole reason for ksamim? Why do we ask ksamim? Because the way I explained it is we don't want people to become confused. But what's our real concern? What time do they have out there? What's the real concern? What? Oh, dude. But what's the reason? So we just discussed. We just explained that why, because we don't want it to come to, right. We don't want it to get to, right. We don't. What's the real reason behind the Chazal's zera? There's 2 reasons why woman becomes aser. What are the 2 reasons? One is because she's aser to the Baal, right? But the main reason we really want to protect. I mean, that's important because we're living with that now. That's all we know. But the main reason is why because to aser for truma, the kachim, yeah. So now it comes to something like this. So wait a second. So the whole gzera is in effect. Why? The whole gzera is in effect because of why? Because to aser because of truma v'kachim. Yeah. So that's the whole reason why we asked it to begin with. So nowadays, and therefore, when Chazal come along and they say when they discussing in the times of truma v'kachim, and they say, hey, we're living in tents, a lot of bugs. We don't want to make you aser every day. Fine. So we give you the heter. So now what? So you take away truma v'kachim. We don't have truma v'kachim nowadays. Yeah. So now we don't have truma v'kachim. So the whole reason for the gzera is because truma v'kachim. So now you're going to take away my kulas also. It's big enough that we're keeping the Isser. Now the whole Isser wasn't acted because of Truma V'kachim. We don't have Truma V'kachim anymore. So now they don't have it. So in other words, so now you can still stick with. No, sorry, but we don't have bugs anymore. So, no, so we stick with the cool. That's another, I guess more, different approach as to why, as to why we still have this heter. So that's as far as that. Heter number 2 is based on the idea is that it has to be very clear. When you're a painter, speak to anybody that paints, they'll tell you the only color palette they're going to use, and this is from the beginning of time, is going to be white, right? No one is painting on a teal background. No one is painting on a red page. It's not doing that. I'm not saying the graphics don't use it, but in general, when I want to paint, I want to present something in its clearest form. You see it on white. That's the background that you see it on. And any rabbi is going to look at a shayla. He's always going to want to look at. You'll see he'll take out an envelope. He'll take out a paper. He'll take out a paper plate. He'll always want to see it on a background of white. That's how you see a color the clearest. That's the ideal color. So therefore, what if it's uncolored? I don't see the color clearly. Now there's a machlokes as regards towards, is this literal? When Rashi explains, because you have to be able to say clear, is it literal? Because i.e., what about a light color? What about pastel colors? What about this? If I'm going to see, look, it's very clear. You have this red and blue here. You see the red very clearly. Right? I see it very clearly because it's more of a pastel color. Right? Pastel is basically color plus white. That's Israel pastel. That's really what it is. It's really color plus white, right? And it's pink and white. It's pastel pink. That's what it is. So it's really much lighter. So what's the look with that? It's not like again in Eretz Yisrael they're more machmor with that, and that's when Eretz Yisrael they will tell women to mamish wear dark. And in America, Rashi said color is colored, and color is colored. That's it. Is it white? No. Is it off white? No. It's fine. And that's it. Even though I know and you know when we're looking at the dam, again, Chazal, we're not geyser on it. You can't get away from the fact that this is Gzeira D'Rabbanan. Chazal, we're not geyser on this. So you can say whatever you want. It doesn't make a difference. There's no isser in regards towards anything on color. Again, you're not beating the system because guess who tells us to do this? We're white, and a lot of times people call up, they're just getting married. Maybe it's dafka. No, Chazal tell us we're colored. We're colored. In fact, the time when the Bais Medrash was destroyed and they wanted to get rid of colored clothing, it was too happy and too specific. No. Stick with this. Women still with us. We don't want to answer women unnecessarily. So that is going to be kula number 2. Kula number 3 is if it's on something that is it's not makabel tumah. Now this is not that relevant, not makabel tumah, because in the times again in Chazal, women, they have this, we all know the coloring books that kids come home with, right? The men, the women, they all have those robes and then the long, I don't know, did they take a look like Arabs in it? That's just something decided that's what they look like? I don't know, that's what the pictures are. So, the men and the women, they all have this covering. And so they sat down on the ground, yeah? So they sat down on the ground. So the ground can't become tummy, because the right karka can't become tummy. Something attached to the ground can't become tummy. So now I get up, again, women that didn't necessarily wasn't wearing an undergarment, there's dam on the floor. Right? And she was sitting right there. So the ground itself is not tummy. Yeah? The ground. Am I going to make you tummy? So now, it could have came from you. That's under the auspices of Kesem. If it could have came from you, could have came from that area, you're out. Yeah? So now the ground isn't tummy, but your tummy? So that doesn't equate. So therefore, if it's on something that's not makabel tummy, it's okay. Now nowadays, in general, 99.9% of the time, it's going on a garment. That's where it's going on. I'm going to do it on the garment. It's going on that. So what's going to help you? There's not much that it's going to help you. If a woman sees it on something, a shower floor, a bathtub, it's not so relevant. Except for what? Except for we have the heter of Moshe. What does Moshe hold? Moshe holds now coming back to our Nida D'Oraisa situation. What are one of the four again? The first four that makes you Nida D'Oraisa is what she sees immediately after urinating. What do we say? We said a woman usually doesn't check right away, right? It's not right away. We have Rav Moshe psak. We have another heter of Rav Moshe, which is great. We put together two psaks, two verdicts, so to speak, of Rav Moshe in regards towards toilet paper shilas, and he held that toilet paper is not makabel tumah. Why toilet paper not makabel tumah? Because you're about to throw it out, right? It's Amid Lizrak, yeah, and which is consistent. If you look at nothing to do with this, Rav Moshe has in regards to tefillas kalim, the same thing, right? Something you're throwing away is not a kli, right? You don't have to cover your aluminum pans. People do when it's a nice klum and all that, but Rav Moshe's tshuva is you don't have to. He says even if you use it 2 or 3 times, it's a throwaway. This is a throwaway. This is not a kli. Once this is not a kli, it's a throwaway. By definition, it's not a kli. You see this in regards towards Shlomo Zalman has a similar tshuva on bottle caps on Shabbos. What do you create? You created a nothing. What I created you created a nothing. What do you mean? It's a bottle cap. Look, it's fine. It's a nothing. Why? You're throwing it out. 2-liter bottle is throwing away. You are throwing this bottle cap out. So when I see something is about to be thrown out, so Lamaisa, it is not. But by definition, it's not a kli. So therefore, since you're using this toilet paper, yeah. So Moshe Feinstein says this is not a kli. This is what saves us. It saves countless shilas in America, and again in Eretz Yisrael they're machmer with it, right? And that's in Eretz Yisrael. You'll notice they have color toilet paper. That they have, but toilet paper by itself is makabel tumah. So if it's white, you have a problem. Now that's why again Karedim will always have color toilet paper for this reason. So they'll also avoid the shaila, but differently. We avoid the shaila even if it's white. They don't happen to not sell color here as much, or I don't know. Someone told me they sell in in Bed Bath & Beyond. They have you can buy, but we're not mechuyev people to go out and buy it. In general, it's always white. Is you have that heter is that it's not makabel tumah, which is a tshuva of again Rav Moshe we use as well with Kahan in America.
So if you don't want to rely on the first heter of Rav Moshe.
So right. So if it's immediately, then that's what I'm saying. Then I'm back in the realms of the D'Oraisa. There's nothing to talk about. It's game over. That's what I'm saying. Let's say a woman decides to do a bedika with toilet paper. That's what she decides to do. Yeah, it's not makabel tumah. It's still usher. The D'Oraisa is not privy to these heterim. So that's why if let's say you come up with this great idea, new kosher innovations, yellow bedika cloth, right? That's great. It won't help you. If you said it won't help you. Because they're right, that's what I'm saying. These heterim only are relevant, they manifest themselves only when it's rabbinic. So that's why that's why I'm trying to split it up. And as those 4 D'Oraisas, if she sees right away after Atal's Merglayim, I don't care what it's on. You said that if it's not right away. It's not right away. It has to be right away. It has to be mamish rushing.
It's never going to be right away.
It's not never. It's not never, but it's rare. It's rare.
So to get out of that problem, just in case you want to get out of that problem, just use a color tissue.
No. I'm not saying that. If that's it, I had this years ago. A woman called and I asked the shot, were you in a rush? Yes. I said, was the baby crying? Yes. Was the phone ringing? Also yes. Like everything Moshe said no. Yes. So okay, so what are you supposed to do? Then you're us. You hear what I'm saying? That's ice yom. So once it's not, also Moshe just say it never happens. Moshe just says it has his immediate his.
What's the mile of getting an extra clue? That's what I'm trying to ask.
It's mile of what?
Why are you trying to get a color
Why do we
tissue?
need
What's the
to
point?
called not to be?
Oh no! In America, I'm asking. In America, you have the heter of Moshe. Yeah. In America, you don't need to do it.
He's asking.
If
you don't do it right away.
Toilet paper not being makabel tumah. What's that for?
The point is that let's say it's white. Yeah.
Either you're derasing no matter what, or you must
It's later, but it's later.
It's a mess.
No, why? It's kesem.
It's a kesem.
It's kesem.
Yeah, but not.
It's the rabbanon. It's a stain. It's a stain because if it's white. That's what I'm saying. In America, they don't have color toilet paper.
So
now it's white. Now it's bigger than a penny. Let's say. So it's mamish like during the Shimon came right on a baguette. It's mamish the same thing. Unless I tell you that it's not a baguette. Unless I tell you it's not makabel tumah. That's what I'm saying. So that's why you can have it. In Eretz Yisrael, where they don't go with this heter, they don't have that heter. So if I have white toilet paper, I'm up a creek if it's bigger than a grace. You see, the trying to differentiate. And the rice is different. Once you're in the rabbanon, then I need those. I need those 4.
How do you get into the Rabbanan?
I got into the Rabbanan because I moved away from Hargasha. It's not Ayisyan.
Okay, but
Now I'm just Tamastain. Now I'm Tamastain. Now I'm in the Rabbanan, right? And that.
It have to be in order to qualify, it would have to be white and Kavatuma.
Right, and Mekavatuma. Right, which is a beged, which is they're usually doing the Shem Nekim. That Seder.
Nowadays, if you call a Rav in America,
Yeah.
tell them you saw any amount of size on a toilet paper. That you could
In general, again, like unless you
Not
say
right
it,
away.
yeah. In general, yes, the Rav is going to be made with it. Yeah, in general, the Rav is going to be made with it. Yeah, because based on these on the Igris, based on these 2 chuvas of the Igris, correct. So that that basically would be the 3rd heter. And the 4th heter is if you could be toilet on something else. If there's a tluya, if I could blame it on something.
Is there a thing that a woman should say, because I have a suffix now that I should wait, or whatever?
No. In general, it's a good question you're asking. In general, we always want every go to summer banim Shabbos they'll be machmer chosh mishpat, give back the money. In regards to this, every Rav is looking to be makel. The go-to, so to speak, is to be lenient. Now, again, if a woman talking not sure is not sure. Now, this brings up a lot of sometimes people get nervous.
Sure of what?
It brings up a lot of unsurety and sometimes anxieties and things that you have to be clear. You have to always tell when women get nervous, like it's not on you, it's on me. It's on me. I just need to tell me what happened. It's on me. So that you have to be able to give over to that message. That it's not on you. Don't worry about it. Just tell me what happened. Just tell me what happened. I mean, just tell me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because that means that there's no chorus. It's on me. You just tell me what happened. I can usually tell you what happened. It happened 2 hours ago. I can tell you what happened. Right? I can't tell you if I'm this and that. That's not up to you. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. So in general, so that's that. The last thing that we'll discuss is that last heter is if something you could be toilet on something else. If you could rely on something else. At times the Gemara talks about they go to the shuk shel tavakim, they go to the butcher's market, they're slaughtering cows. Now again, women those days they just wore one tunic or whatever it was, one robe or whatever they wanted. So that's it. So could it come from here or me? Which one? Yeah, which one? So okay, so we say okay, it came from outside. Nowadays you don't have that nowadays. Even if you're working with dam and you're working in an emergency room and you're working, how to get to the undergarment? How that happen? How that happen? Even though it doesn't matter what she's doing, like how that happen? The only tools you have nowadays is hemorrhoids. Is a good thing to tell the rabbi. Urinary tract infection, a yeast infection. Tell the rabbi I have something going on that might cause dam. So if it's just dam, a random stain, again, if it's uncolored, you're fine. If it's on toilet paper, you're fine. If it happens to be on white, or whatever the case is, let's say during the Shovavim Lecture Series, it's on white, and there's something going on, let the rabbi know. Let the rabbi know. So that basically sums up. I know the title was what Hilchos needed, trying to make it somewhat formulaic a little bit. Is we have these 4. We have what can make a woman need the rights as well is childbirth that also will make her usher. We have for neither the rabbanon. We have general random kesem. Instead of saying there's something called for kala. There's the dam sulam, dam chima. These are also itzuri the rabbanon, and that's basically what's relevant to us. Is going to be usually the monthly cycle, and if there's any stains, we have the 4 heterim that we know. There is one last thing that just to know the Noda B'Yehuda discusses is in regards towards when the question is if the psichas kever, if there's an opening, right? Is there always dam or not always dam? So how do we know if it's always opening? When a woman goes to a doctor's appointment sometimes. So the shaila is what if it opens from the outside? If something is stuck inside that's a certain width, so then that's going to be a problem. That could be a problem. What is that? Not so. Most things are not relevant to. A sonogram is not going to be an issue. A spectrum is not going to be an issue. But if it's something wide enough, ask the doctor. It's good to know that could make her usher. Not common.
Even if there's no doubt.
Even if there's no doubt. Yes. Even if there's no doubt. So it's good to know. So you have to know what instrument. It's an instrument. It's Dr. Shaila. It's not so complicated. It doesn't usually happen. But it's just something. No. If there's something that was going on, ask the doctor. Tell the rabbi, hey, this is what happened. Ask the doctor what kind of the width of it and the general.
That is a compound. The Torah doesn't say.
No, that's the Gemara talks about. If there's it goes back, from the Rishonim. If it goes down, whether psichas kever below, is it with dam, without dam, and we end up passing that even whether you saw dam or not, it was, and lamaisi aser, and the question is, he coming from the other side? So that's what we pass on the Chumrah as well. So that basically sums that up. So and as far as in regards towards in Inyan Kedusha. So the court mentioned that he started with last week. So it's always important, and just to mention that is that there's always the duality is there's filters and you have to make sure that you don't see it and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I'm saying when a person sees it and just looking at one buying one purchase on Amazon. Our great grandparents, their whole lives they didn't go through, right? I'm saying they sell everything nowadays. They sell watches, they sell phones, they sell cars, they sell everything. That's how they sell it. It's very simple, right? The most common color, as we know, right? What's going to get people to buy is color red. Right, and there's a promiscuity behind that, right? If you look at the Ramah, it talks about a saying, like, what is that? What he says, well, don't we red for that reason? Yeah, Campbell soup, Coca-Cola, it's all there. It all draws you. Why does it draw you? It draws you because of that. But what you have to realize more important is as much as not so much just I'm not looking. You have to replace it with something with connection. You have to replace it with a relationship. That's more important. So you could put all the filters in the world, right? At the end of the day, they don't replace it with something connected. They don't replace it with a real, true relationship. Yeah? It's not going to work. And really, as much as we have to build and we have to work on Inyane Kedusha, not to look, you have to work on Inyane relationships and how to build. And that's really a time of in regards towards when we go home, in regards towards connection. Creating this concept of connection. Creating this concept is that, what is it? You have a wife that really just bet everything. Everything she has is totally zoned into you. Everything. Completely zoned into you. And you'll realize, and you will see, that throughout your relationship, there's an inverse relationship between what? Between trust and between control. And the more I try to control things, it's an inverse relationship. The more I try to control things, the less trust there is in the relationship. As opposed to when we get married, and we realize that I really didn't sign up for this. I really didn't know about that. No one really told me about this, right? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you know what you say? Just let it go. I let it go. I let it go. So what happens is that I have less control. It's very unsettling for a man. Right? We like to be in control. We like to fix things. We like to make things the way we like it. But it's not. I let her know that she is all that in a bag of chips. And she is all that. Yeah? And I can zone in on the positive. And I can see the good. So then Mamela is much more trust in the relationship. And you'll notice this. When you get married, Kamat, a lot of the things that bother you, usually, is the inverse of the very things we like. I love the fact that she's so chilled. You come home and the house is an absolute pigsty. Right? She's so chilled. Yeah? I love the fact everything is organized and casual. You walk home 2 minutes later, yes, you said you're going to be at 7 o'clock, it's 7:02. I'd like to do me a favor, the socks should be facing this way. Do me a favor, the slippers, I like it more horizontal. Right? She's very casual. Yeah? She's very sensitive, she's very soft, she's very caring. She cries a lot. Yeah? Everything has the other side. I'm not saying any major kiddush. What I'm saying is at the end of the day is to zone in now during this time of Shovavim, is to zone in on this inverse relationship. Trust and control. To trust more. To control less. And to zone in on that part of the part that initially, right? Why we popped the question to begin with. The part that we do like. To zone in on that. Because everything, the Taharas is going to be throwing everything at it. Because this relationship this is where it's at. This is where it's at. The most holiest place in the world. Kaisher Kedashim. There's a boy and a girl. That's where the Scheiner comes through. This is where it's at. And there's nothing Yitzhahar loves more than to disturb and to disrupt this actus, to disrupt this unity. And it is on us every single day to ask that question, starting now, during these weeks of Shovavim. Is it what did I zone in on that? Did I zone in on creating more trust? And did I zone in on giving up some of that control? And zoning in on the positive that she brings to the relationship. And if we can do that, and we can be married with that Karasatayv, we can build on that. 1 week after another, Taka will be Zelka to be Bais Medrash Ohr. The Scheiner will rest in our homes. Mr. Shem, we should all have a nachas, bring a nachas work to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to all the clients.